Welcome to the most exciting coin discovery of your life. Today, we're diving into the mysterious and ultra-rare bicentennial coins, an ordinary-looking coin with the power to make you a millionaire overnight. If you've got this hidden gem in your pocket, your entire future could change in an instant. Let's unlock the secrets behind this legendary piece of treasure. First up, the story of the 1942 wheat penny begins in a world overshadowed by global conflict, as the United States stood firmly in the early years of World War II following the shock of Pearl Harbor. Copper, the very metal used to strike pennies, had suddenly become a strategic wartime resource, vital for ammunition and military equipment. In this tense and transformative era, the humble 1-cent coin carried a quiet significance far beyond its face value. The 1942 issue would become one of the last copper-based Lincoln cents before the famous steel cents of 1943 emerged, placing it at a fascinating crossroads in American numismatic history, a moment where everyday currency intersected with global urgency. The wheat penny series itself, first introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, marked a revolutionary shift in American coinage. Designed by the renowned sculptor Victor David Brenner, the coin broke tradition by featuring a real historical figure instead of symbolic imagery. Brenner's portrait of Lincoln on the obverse remains one of the most recognizable designs in U.S. history, while the reverse, adorned with two stylized wheat stalks, symbolized national prosperity and agricultural strength. By 1942, this design had already circulated for decades, becoming deeply embedded in American life. Yet few could have imagined that certain examples from this year would one day command significant attention from collectors. At first glance, the design of the 1942 wheat penny appears straightforward, but its simplicity hides layers of detail that experts scrutinize carefully. Lincoln's profile, facing right, is accompanied by the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date. On the reverse, the bold 1 cent and United States of America are framed by the iconic wheat ears. However, the quality of the strike, how sharply these details were impressed onto the coin, varies widely. Coins struck at different mints, such as Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, often display subtle differences in sharpness, luster, and overall eye appeal, factors that significantly influence collector demand and long-term value. The official mintage numbers for the 1942 wheat penny were enormous, with hundreds of millions produced across all three major mints. At first glance, such high production might suggest that these coins should be common and inexpensive. But mintage alone does not determine rarity. Over decades of circulation, countless coins were lost, damaged, or heavily worn, dramatically reducing the number of high-quality survivors. More importantly, rarity in numismatics is often tied not just to how many coins were made, but how many exist today in desirable condition or with distinctive characteristics that set them apart from the ordinary. Survival rate plays a crucial role in understanding the true scarcity of the 1942 wheat penny, especially in higher grades. Most surviving examples today fall into heavily circulated categories, often showing scratches, dull surfaces, and uneven toning. Coins described as scratched and toned, like the one in this story, are typically valued modestly in the general market. However, when such coins exhibit rare minting anomalies or unusual die characteristics, their desirability can increase dramatically. Strike quality also becomes critical, as wartime production pressures sometimes led to weaker strikes or die fatigue, resulting in coins with incomplete details that collectors either avoid, or, in rare cases, actively seek if tied to a known variety. Among the most fascinating aspects of the 1942 wheat penny are its varieties and minting anomalies. Collectors have identified doubled dies, where the design appears slightly duplicated due to misalignment during the hubbing process, as well as repunched mint marks, where mint marks were manually re-impressed, leaving visible traces of multiple placements. There are also off-center strikes and die cracks caused by stressed or damaged dies during production. While not every 1942 penny displays these features, those that do, especially in clearly visible and dramatic forms, can command premiums far above standard examples, even when the coin itself shows signs of circulation. Understanding how these errors occur adds another layer of intrigue. During the early 1940s, coin dies were created through a multi-step hubbing process, where the design was pressed into a die multiple times. Slight misalignments during this process could create doubled images. Mint marks, at the time, were punched by hand into working dies, which introduced opportunities for repunching errors. Meanwhile, The intense production demands of wartime coinage meant dies were used longer than usual, increasing the likelihood of cracks, distortions, and other irregularities. These imperfections, once considered flaws, have become prized features in the eyes of modern collectors. Even circulated coins, those with visible wear, scratches, and toning, can achieve surprising value when tied to rare varieties. A well-worn 1942 wheat penny with a confirmed double die or a dramatic minting error can sell for significantly more than a standard example in similar condition. However, surface preservation remains critical. Natural toning, which develops over decades due to environmental exposure, is often appreciated for its originality and aesthetic appeal. In contrast, cleaned coins, which may appear artificially bright, are typically less desirable. Professional grading services play a vital role here, providing authentication, condition assessment, and market confidence that can strongly influence a coin's final value. In terms of realistic market ranges, a typical 1942 wheat penny in fine condition may only command a small premium over face value, while very fine or about uncirculated examples can reach modest collector prices depending on eye appeal. Mint state coins, particularly those with strong strikes and original luster, can climb significantly higher, especially when certified by major grading services. Exceptional examples with rare varieties or error features may achieve even stronger results at auction, particularly if they are among the finest known or possess striking visual anomalies. Competitive bidding among advanced collectors, especially those building registry sets, can drive prices well beyond typical expectations for coins of this era. Registry set competition has become a powerful force in modern numismatics, pushing collectors to seek the highest graded and most unique examples available. In such an environment, even a seemingly ordinary coin like the 1942 wheat penny can transform into a coveted prize if it meets the right combination of rarity, condition, and visual appeal. While not every scratched and toned example will achieve remarkable value, the possibility that a rare variety or overlooked feature could elevate its status keeps collectors searching. It is this blend of history, chance, and meticulous study that defines the enduring allure of the wheat penny, and reminds us that even the smallest coin can carry a story far greater than its size. What truly elevates certain 1942 wheat pennies into the spotlight of advanced collecting is the intersection of provenance, condition rarity, and market timing. Coins that have been part of well-known collections or have appeared in major auctions often carry an intangible prestige that influences bidder behavior. When a high-grade example with exceptional eye appeal surfaces, especially one certified at the upper limits of the grading scale, it can ignite intense competition among registry participants. These collectors are not simply acquiring coins, they are building ranked sets that are publicly displayed, where even a single upgrade can shift standings. In such cases, a 1942 wheat penny that might otherwise seem common becomes a key piece in a larger competitive narrative, driving prices that reflect both scarcity and ambition. In the end, the enduring fascination with the 1942 wheat penny lies in its quiet complexity. It is a coin born during a pivotal year in American history, produced in vast numbers yet hiding layers of rarity beneath its surface. A scratched and toned example may appear ordinary at first glance, but under careful examination, it can reveal subtle characteristics that connect it to the broader story of wartime production, human craftsmanship, and the unpredictability of survival. This is what makes coin collecting so compelling, the realization that value is not always obvious, and that even a small copper coin, shaped by history and preserved by chance, can hold a place of significance far beyond its humble beginnings. Second, the story of the 1946 wheat penny begins in a nation catching its breath after the end of World War II. Factories that once produced tanks and ammunition were shifting back to consumer goods, soldiers were returning home, and the American economy was preparing for a new era of growth. Yet even in this moment of rebuilding, the US Mint resumed striking coins with renewed intensity, restoring copper composition after the experimental steel cents of 1943. The 1946 Lincoln wheat penny represents this transition, no longer constrained by wartime shortages, but still marked by the lingering effects of heavy industrial demand and worn minting equipment. It is a coin born in recovery, carrying subtle traces of a world just emerging from conflict. The wheat penny series itself, introduced in 1909, had already cemented its place in American culture by the time 1946 arrived. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin was groundbreaking for its realistic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, replacing symbolic imagery with a human figure of national importance. Brenner's work combined artistic simplicity with enduring symbolism, ensuring that the coin would remain instantly recognizable across generations. By the mid-1940s, the design had circulated for nearly 4 decades, quietly evolving in quality and detail depending on mint conditions, die wear, and production demands. At a glance, the 1946 wheat penny appears unchanged from earlier issues, but its design rewards close inspection. Lincoln's profile on the obverse is accompanied by inscriptions that reflect both patriotism and identity, while the reverse features the iconic wheat stalks framing the denomination. However, the quality of these details varies significantly from coin to coin. In 1946, some dies were still affected by wartime overuse, leading to softer strikes where Lincoln's hair or the wheat lines appear less defined. For collectors, these subtle differences are not flaws alone. They are clues that help distinguish ordinary coins from those with exceptional strike quality or unusual die characteristics. Mintage figures for the 1946 wheat penny were substantial, with hundreds of millions produced across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. On paper, such high numbers suggest abundance, yet the reality is more nuanced. Mintage alone does not determine rarity because it does not account for how many coins survived decades of circulation, storage, and environmental exposure. Many 1946 pennies were spent repeatedly in everyday transactions, accumulating scratches, discoloration, and wear. As a result, high-grade examples with sharp details and original surfaces are far less common than the raw production numbers might imply. Survival rate becomes a defining factor when evaluating the true scarcity of a 1946 wheat penny, especially one described as scratched and toned. Most surviving coins fall into lower grades, where heavy handling has diminished their visual appeal. However, collector demand is not driven solely by condition. It is also shaped by the presence of distinctive features. A coin with average wear may still attract attention if it displays an unusual strike, a visible die crack, or a recognized variety. In this way, the market distinguishes between ordinary circulated coins and those that tell a more compelling story through their physical characteristics. Varieties and minting anomalies add another layer of intrigue to the 1946 issue. Collectors have identified doubled dies, where design elements appear slightly duplicated due to misalignment during the die creation process, as well as repunched mint marks resulting from the manual punching of mint letters into dies. There are also off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks that formed as dies aged and fractured under pressure. While not all 1946 pennies exhibit these features, those that do, especially with clear and dramatic visibility, can command premiums that far exceed standard examples, even when the coin itself shows signs of circulation. The origins of these errors lie in the minting process itself. During the 1940s, dies were created through multiple hubbing impressions, and any slight shift between impressions could produce doubling. Mint marks, applied by hand, introduced the possibility of misalignment or multiple strikes. Additionally, the intense production schedules of the post-war period meant that dies were often used beyond their optimal lifespan, increasing the likelihood of cracks, weak strikes, and other irregularities. These production quirks, once considered imperfections, have become highly desirable among collectors who value the uniqueness they bring to each coin. Even a circulated 1946 wheat penny, scratched, toned, and worn, can achieve notable value if it possesses a rare variety or striking error. A coin with a clear doubled die or a dramatic off-center strike may attract strong interest despite its imperfections. However, surface preservation remains critical. Natural toning, developed over decades, is often appreciated for its authenticity and character, while cleaned or altered surfaces can significantly reduce desirability. Professional grading services play a key role in this process, offering authentication and standardized condition assessments that provide confidence to both buyers and sellers in a competitive market. In terms of realistic value, most 1946 wheat pennies in fine condition trade at modest levels, with incremental increases as condition improves to very fine and about uncirculated. Mint state examples, particularly those with strong luster and minimal marks, can reach substantially higher prices, especially when certified at higher grades. Coins with recognized varieties or dramatic errors may achieve even stronger results at auction, particularly if they are among the finest known or display visually striking anomalies. In some cases, competitive bidding driven by registry set collectors has pushed exceptional examples well beyond typical expectations, highlighting how demand can elevate even a common date coin. Registry set competition has transformed the way collectors approach coins like the 1946 wheat penny. Participants strive to assemble the highest graded and most complete sets, often competing for top rankings that are publicly displayed. In this environment, a single coin, especially one with superior quality or a rare variety, can become the focus of intense bidding. Ultimately, the 1946 wheat penny demonstrates how value is shaped not just by age or mintage, but by a complex interplay of history, condition, rarity, and collector passion. It serves as a reminder that even a small copper coin, often overlooked in everyday life, can become a remarkable collectible when the right combination of factors aligns. What makes the 1946 wheat penny especially captivating to advanced collectors is the occasional appearance of coins with exceptional provenance or standout visual identity. A piece that once belonged to a respected collection, or that has been featured in a notable auction, often carries added appeal beyond its technical grade. In rare cases, a sharply struck mint state example with vibrant, original toning, deep reds, subtle violets, or warm browns, can draw significant attention when it crosses the auction block. When multiple register set collectors compete for a top population coin, the final price can climb well beyond typical market levels, not because the coin is common, but because it represents the finest known example available at that moment in time. These moments, though not everyday occurrences, demonstrate how demand, timing, and prestige can converge to elevate a single coin into the spotlight. In the end, the 1946 wheat penny tells a story that goes far beyond its modest face value. It reflects a nation transitioning from war to peace, a minting process shaped by both recovery and residual strain, and a collecting community that finds meaning in the smallest details. Even a scratched and toned example can hold hidden significance if it reveals a rare variety, a unique error, or simply an authentic surface untouched by modern alteration. This is the enduring mystery of coin collecting, the idea that something so small, so ordinary in appearance, can carry layers of history, craftsmanship, and rarity waiting to be discovered. Third, the story of the 1951 wheat penny unfolds during a tense and transformative chapter in American history, as the United States found itself deep in the early years of the Cold War and actively engaged in the Korean War. Industry was again running at high capacity, not quite at the extreme levels of World War II, but still influenced by military demand and economic expansion. In this climate, everyday objects like coins were produced in vast quantities to support a growing population and a rapidly moving economy. Yet beneath the surface of this routine production, subtle irregularities and overlooked details would quietly shape the future value of certain coins, including the 1951 Lincoln wheat penny. The Lincoln wheat penny series, first introduced in 1909, had by 1951 become one of the most familiar coins in American life. Its designer, Victor David Brenner, created a portrait of Abraham Lincoln that would endure for generations. Brenner's design was both artistic and symbolic, reflecting national identity through simplicity and clarity. Even decades later, the coin retained its original composition and layout, though minor refinements and variations in die production gave each year its own subtle character. By 1951, the Denver Mint, indicated by the small D mint mark, was producing coins at a high pace, often prioritizing output over perfection. At first glance, the design of the 1951 wheat penny appears unchanged from earlier issues, yet collectors know that every detail matters. Lincoln's profile on the obverse carries fine elements such as hair strands, cheek contours, and lettering sharpness that can vary depending on strike quality. The reverse, with its wheat ears framing the denomination, reveals even more about the coin's production. Weakly struck examples may show flattened wheat lines or incomplete lettering, while stronger strikes display crisp, well-defined details. These differences, though subtle, play a significant role in determining desirability and value, especially among advanced collectors who seek the finest possible examples. The official mintage of the 1951 wheat penny exceeded hundreds of millions, making it appear, at least statistically, like a common coin. However, mintage figures alone rarely tell the full story. Over decades of circulation, countless coins were worn down, damaged, or lost entirely. What remains today is a fraction of the original production, and an even smaller fraction survives in high-grade condition. For collectors, rarity is not just about how many coins were made, but how many exist today with sharp details, original surfaces, and minimal imperfections. This is where the 1951 begins to separate into tiers of ordinary and extraordinary examples. When examining survival rates, it becomes clear that most 1951D wheat pennies exist in circulated condition, often described as scratched and toned. These coins reflect years of handling, storage, and environmental exposure. While such condition typically limits value, it does not eliminate the possibility of significance. Coins with unusual strike characteristics, die anomalies, or recognized varieties can stand out even in worn states. Strike quality is particularly important for the Denver Mint in this era, as some issues are known for softer details, making sharply struck examples far more desirable and comparatively scarce. Varieties and minting anomalies add another layer of intrigue to the 1951D wheat penny. Collectors have documented repunched mint marks, where the D appears doubled or slightly offset due to multiple impressions during the minting process. There are also doubled dies, though less dramatic than in some earlier years, as well as die cracks that formed when overused dies began to fracture. Off-center strikes and clipped planchets occasionally appear, offering visual evidence of mechanical irregularities during production. These varieties, while not present on every coin, can significantly elevate interest and value when clearly visible and authenticated. The origin of these minting errors lies in the production techniques of the time. Dies were created through repeated hubbing impressions, and any misalignment during this process could result in doubling. Mint marks were punched by hand into working dies, creating opportunities for repunching or misplacement. Additionally, the pressure to maintain high output meant that dies were often used beyond their optimal lifespan, leading to cracks, weak strikes, and other imperfections. These flaws, once considered undesirable, are now carefully studied and catalogued, transforming them into sought-after features within the collecting community. Even circulated examples of the 1951D wheat penny can achieve notable value when tied to rare varieties or visually striking errors. A scratched and toned coin may appear ordinary at first glance, but if it displays a clear repunched mint mark or a distinctive die crack, it can command a premium over standard examples. Surface preservation remains critical, however. Natural toning, which develops over time, is often appreciated for its authenticity, while cleaned or artificially altered surfaces can reduce desirability. Professional grading services play a key role in verifying authenticity and assigning condition grades, providing a level of trust that is essential in today's market. In terms of realistic value ranges, most 1951D wheat pennies in fine condition trade at modest levels, with gradual increases as condition improves to very fine and about uncirculated. Mint state examples, especially those with strong luster and minimal marks, can reach significantly higher prices, particularly when certified at higher grades. Coins with recognized varieties or exceptional eye appeal may achieve stronger auction results, especially if they are among the finest known. Registry set competition further amplifies this effect, as collectors compete to assemble the highest-ranked sets, often driving prices upward for top-quality coins. Ultimately, the 1951D wheat penny demonstrates how a seemingly ordinary coin can become extraordinary through a combination of history, condition, and rarity. It is a product of its time, shaped by the economic and industrial forces of early Cold War America, yet elevated by the subtle imperfections and variations that occurred during its creation. While not every example will hold significant value, the possibility that a scratched and toned coin could reveal a rare feature keeps collectors searching. It serves as a reminder that even the smallest piece of currency can carry a story worth discovering, and under the right circumstances, can transform into a prized collectible with lasting appeal. In rare and compelling cases, the 1951D wheat penny has appeared in auctions with qualities that push it far beyond its expected category. Coins graded at the very top of the mint state scale, especially those with rich original red color and razor-sharp strike detail, have drawn intense attention from advanced collectors. When such a coin is also tied to a recognized variety, like a bold repunched mint mark or an unusually clear die anomaly, it becomes even more desirable. Add to that a strong provenance or inclusion in a well-known collection, and the coin transforms from a simple cent into a centerpiece. Competitive bidding in these moments is often driven not just by rarity, but by the desire to secure a best-known example, particularly among registry participants seeking to climb the rankings. In the end, the 1951D wheat penny reminds us that value in numismatics is never just about age or mintage. It is about the intersection of history, preservation, and discovery. A scratched and toned coin may seem insignificant at first, but with careful examination, it can reveal layers of meaning tied to its production and survival. This is what gives the wheat penny its enduring appeal, the idea that extraordinary stories can be hidden within ordinary objects. And while it remains a humble 1-cent piece in denomination, under the right circumstances, it can stand as a testament to craftsmanship, rarity, and the enduring fascination of collectors who continue to search for hidden treasures in the smallest corners of history. Fourth, the story of the 1952 wheat penny begins in a United States defined by tension, ambition, and rapid change. The Korean War was still underway, shaping industrial priorities and influencing the flow of raw materials across the nation. Factories operated at high capacity, and the demand for coinage remained strong as the post-war economy continued to expand. In this environment, the Denver Mint struck millions of Lincoln cents to keep commerce moving. Yet beneath this routine production, subtle variations and overlooked details quietly formed. Details that would one day turn certain 1952 pennies into objects of fascination and value among collectors. By 1952, the Lincoln Wheat Penny series had already enjoyed more than 4 decades of circulation, becoming one of the most recognizable coins in American history. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin featured the enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design that was both artistic and symbolic. Brenner's vision broke new ground when it debuted in 1909, placing a real historical figure on a circulating U.S. coin. Over the years, the design remained largely unchanged, but each mint and each year introduced its own subtle differences, influenced by die preparation, striking pressure, and production demands. The visual design of the 1952 wheat penny appears simple at first glance, yet it rewards careful observation. Lincoln's profile on the obverse carries fine details that can vary in sharpness depending on the strike, while the reverse displays the iconic wheat ears framing the denomination. On well-struck coins, the wheat lines are crisp and deeply defined, and Lincoln's features appear bold and lifelike. On weaker strikes, however, these details may appear soft or incomplete. For collectors, these differences are crucial, as they help distinguish average coins from those with exceptional quality and visual appeal. Official mintage figures for the 1952 wheat penny were substantial, reaching into the hundreds of millions. Such high production numbers might suggest that the coin is common, but mintage alone does not determine rarity. Over decades of circulation, many coins were worn down, damaged, or lost, leaving far fewer surviving examples in collectible condition. More importantly, only a small percentage of these coins were preserved with strong strikes, original surfaces, and minimal marks. This gap between total mintage and surviving quality examples is what creates true scarcity in the numismatic market. When analyzing survival rates, it becomes clear that most 1952 wheat pennies exist today in circulated condition, often described as scratched and toned. These coins bear the marks of time, with surface wear, discoloration, and handling damage that reflect their long journey through everyday commerce. While such condition typically limits value, it does not eliminate the possibility of significance. Coins with unusual features, such as sharp strikes, distinctive toning patterns, or identifiable varieties, can stand out even among heavily circulated examples. Collector demand is driven not just by condition, but by the uniqueness and story each coin tells. Varieties and minting anomalies play a central role in elevating certain 1952 pennies above the ordinary. Repunched mint marks are among the most notable, where the D appears doubled or slightly offset due to multiple impressions during die preparation. There are also minor doubled dies, die cracks, and occasional off-center strikes that reveal mechanical irregularities during production. While dramatic errors are less common for this year compared to some earlier issues, even subtle varieties can attract strong interest when clearly visible. These features transform a standard coin into a collectible with distinct identity and added value. The origins of these anomalies lie in the minting process itself. During the early 1950s, coin dies were created through repeated hubbing impressions, and any slight misalignment could produce doubling in the design. Mint marks were still punched by hand into the dies, allowing for variations such as repunching or misplacement. Additionally, the high production demands of the era meant that dies were often used beyond their optimal lifespan, leading to cracks, weak strikes, and other imperfections. These production quirks, once seen as flaws, are now carefully studied and appreciated as part of each coin's unique history. Even a scratched and toned 1952 wheat penny can achieve notable value if it possesses a recognized variety or visually striking error. A circulated coin with a clear repunched mint mark or an interesting die crack may command a premium over standard examples in similar condition. Surface preservation remains a critical factor, however. Natural toning, developed over decades, is often valued for its authenticity and character, while cleaned or altered surfaces can significantly reduce desirability. Professional grading services provide essential authentication and condition assessment, helping to establish trust and consistency in the marketplace. In terms of realistic market value, most 1952D wheat pennies in fine condition trade at modest levels, with gradual increases as condition improves to very fine and about uncirculated. Mint state examples, particularly those with strong luster and minimal imperfections, can reach significantly higher prices, especially when certified at higher grades. Coins with recognized varieties or exceptional eye appeal may achieve stronger auction results, particularly if they are among the finest known. Registry set competition further amplifies this effect, as collectors compete for top rankings, driving demand for the best available examples. Ultimately, the 1952D wheat penny illustrates how value in coin collecting is shaped by far more than face value or mintage numbers. It is a coin born in a time of global tension and economic growth, shaped by the realities of mass production and the imperfections that came with it. While most examples remain modest in value, the possibility that a single coin, perhaps scratched and toned, could reveal a rare feature or exceptional quality continues to inspire collectors. It serves as a reminder that even the smallest coin can carry a rich story, and under the right circumstances, can become a highly sought-after piece of history in the upper tiers of the market. The 1952D wheat penny occasionally reveals just how far condition and rarity can elevate a seemingly ordinary coin. When an example surfaces with blazing original red luster, razor-sharp strike detail, and minimal contact marks, especially one certified at the very top of the grading scale, it can command strong attention at auction. If that same coin also displays a clearly defined repunched mint mark or another recognized variety, its appeal multiplies. Add in a documented provenance or inclusion in a well-known collection, and the coin transforms into a centerpiece that attracts competitive bidding. These moments are often fueled by registry set collectors, whose pursuit of the finest known examples pushes prices beyond typical expectations, not through speculation, but through scarcity and prestige. In the end, the 1952D wheat penny stands as a powerful reminder of how numismatic value is built layer by layer, through history, condition, rarity, and human fascination. A scratched and toned coin may appear insignificant at first, yet within its worn surfaces could lie a subtle variety or a story tied to its production era. This is what continues to draw collectors to the wheat penny series, the possibility that something overlooked today could become significant tomorrow. And while it remains a humble 1-cent coin in denomination, under the right circumstances it can achieve a level of recognition and desirability that far exceeds its original purpose, proving that even the smallest artifacts can carry extraordinary meaning.